So we get to the hospital and there are detectives there. There are doctors there to perform a rape kit. So, they do swabs. They have to take our clothing. Everything that's a part of a rape kit is what they did. They contacted my mother. My mother came down to the hospital and, was there while they were questioning me, trying to get all of the details of the situation, see if I remembered anything. I did let them know that he took my cell phone, so I don't have my cell phone, and that I wiped the console with my shirt of his ejaculation. So obviously that's going to give them DNA. So, like I said, they had to take all of our clothes, so they gave me other clothes to wear so that I can go home. And when I went home and talking to my mom basically said that she didn't believe me. She thinks that we made it up because we were late for curfew. So she thought that I made this story up. All these details, all this stuff, got police involved, all this stuff because I was late for curfew. When I tell you guys, it hurt then, it hurts now. This feeling I have right now in my gut, in my stomach, in my heart is painful. But I know my truth. I know my truth and I know what happened. So as much as she didn't want to believe me, as much as she thought that I was lying, I stuck with my story because I know it's the truth. So, time goes by, detectives are in contact. I go back to school. When I tell you guys, I was the jumpiest person. I didn't feel comfortable at school. I didn't feel comfortable in my home. When I should feel comfortable at home around my family, like I should feel comfortable there, but I didn't feel comfortable there because I wasn't being believed. My mother did not believe me. She really thought that this was something that I made up, that we made up for curfew. The Chicago Police Department reached out to the officers in the city that we lived in, advised them of the situation, pretty much to just watch out for us, make sure that we're good. The school offered counseling. I didn't take them up on the counseling just because I couldn't talk about it. I was still in shock. I was still scared. I was still hurt. Like I couldn't talk about it. I know I was super jumpy. I would just hit a corner and just be like, there's students obviously all around me, but I would hit a corner and just be like jumpy and be scared. So time goes on. I think I met with an attorney or what is she? What is she called? A prosecutor. I met with the prosecutor, basically to give the details of my story again. They want to just make sure that, what I said last time is what I'm saying this time. And she met with them as well. Bianca did. But of course they met with us separately. And when I met with the prosecutor alone. The following time, I met with the prosecutor. I met with the prosecutor alone. There were letters, you know, anywhere I moved to, they found exactly where I was at, obviously because they have a way of doing so. So they would send me a letter or give me a phone call saying, hey, this is Detective so-and-so. We're going to need you to come down to do X, Y, Z. So by now, this next time that I'm contacted, I already had my son. So this happened at 14. And when I had my son, I was 19. So 5 years later, 5 years go by, I'm contacted and they're like, hey, we need you to come down and talk to the prosecutor again and meet with the detectives. We're going to have a detective come to your house to pick you up and bring you down to the precinct. So I'm like, okay, you know, I let my mom know the situation. Again, like thinking, hoping, praying that she would come with me to be supportive, you know, but it didn't happen. I went down to the precinct with my child because he was a couple months old. So went down to the precinct with my child and talked to the prosecutor again and to the detectives. And then they broke it to me that they had a lineup that they needed me to go look at and see if I seen my attacker. So of course I'm scared. You know, I want to, but I don't want to. I've never been in a situation like this. I've never been in a precinct. I've never looked, you know, at a lineup. I've never experienced any of this. So I'm telling him, like, you know, what if he sees me? What, you know, like I pretty much went back to my 14-year-old self, like scared. I'm not sure if he can see me. So the detectives and the prosecutors are letting me know, you know, it's a one-way glass. Like, you can see them, they cannot see you. All you have to do is, you know, look at every single person that's lined up there. Let us know what number, you know, if you see your attacker, let us know the number and you're done. So it took me a little bit. You know, they were there with me. We walked up to the glass and, you know, I was looking and immediately I saw him. Immediately saw him. I told them the number. They told me, okay, go ahead, look one more time, you know, just to be sure. So I did, took my time. I looked. I'm like, no, that's him. 1000% sure that that's him. So they're like, okay, you know, great. That's exactly, you know, what the DNA matches to that exact person. So I'm happy that I did it. Again, still nervous, still hurt because I'm going through this by myself. So some time goes by. I have moved out of the state of Illinois and I was in Arizona. The first time I moved to Arizona. So I'm there in Arizona and I get a knock at my door. So I get a knock at my door and it's a guy kind of, I don't want to say dressed down, but I guess he's just like a courier for the courts to deliver and serve documents or whatever. So he asked, you know, is, you know, Monica here, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, it's me. So he hands me the paper and asked me to sign some little clipboard or something. I signed something. So I opened the letter and it's from the state of Illinois prosecutor letting me know that there is a trial date set that I need to attend. And that I needed to give them a call. So I gave them a call and I let them know, like, hey, you know, I don't live in the state of Illinois anymore, you know, and I don't have the funds to travel to the state of Illinois for this. I'm like, and I have a child. So they were like, you know, don't worry, we'll pay for your fare so that you can come to the trial for you and your child, whatever. So they ended up sending me all the information for my flight. And me and my child went to Chicago. My mother was living in in Arizona as well, but she stayed in Arizona. She didn't come with me to Chicago. When I went to Chicago for my trial, I was staying with my father. My father was also made aware of the situation and pretty much shrugged it off as well. Didn't ever ask, nothing. So I let him know, this is my trial date. I need to go to court. He never said like, oh, I'll go with you or anything. So when I went to the trial date, I went alone. And actually, prior to the actual court date, I had to meet with the prosecutor again to go over the details of the case again, just to make sure that my story is still, the same. So I met with her then. I think it was maybe like 2 days before the court date or something like that. Met with her. We went over everything. When I went back to my dad's house, he asked me, what happened. So I let him know, blah, 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 everything that happened. And I let him know that on the trial date that I was going to have to see my attacker in the courtroom. And also my attacker was representing himself, which they can do, and it totally pissed me off. But he's able to represent himself, which gives him the ability to speak to me directly. When I tell you guys, that pissed me off that he can do that. Like, I feel like you have no fucking right to speak to me. That's how I felt. You fucking attacked me. You hurt me. You scarred me at the age of 14 years old. And you knew that I was 14 years old. So I let my dad know, still no volunteer, to come with me to court, anything. I literally got picked up by the detectives and went to court by myself. The prosecutor asked, is anyone with you? And it hurt. And I'm like, no, I'm here by myself. Bianca came, she was in court as well, and she had her mother, she had her father, and her sister. So I just kept constantly being reminded that I was there by myself. But I made it through. I was really nervous. My palms were sweaty, my arms were shaking, like I was a mess. But I knew that I had to do this. This person attacked me, you hurt me, you scarred me, you assaulted me. Like, I have to do this to put you behind bars. The prosecutor also mentioned to me that this wasn't his first time doing something like this, that there were a few other girls that he did this to. One even went further and she got pregnant by him. I didn't even ask for the details on that. I just saw it as my duty to tell my story, give all my truth, all my details to make sure that this man is put behind bars. So I did that. The prosecutor, she let me know that she was there, right there by me. If I needed to take a break, if anything, she was there. When this motherfucker was talking to me, I literally wanted to fucking kill him. But I knew that he was going to get what he deserved when he went to jail. He tried his hardest to get stuff dismissed. He tried his hardest to say that the evidence was made up. Like, he obviously is no lawyer. He just chose to represent himself because he's fucking sick in the head and he wanted the opportunity to speak to me. So, you know, he tried to badger me. He tried to get me, you know, flustered and all this and all that. But I held my ground. I did my thing. And after the trial, I don't remember the exact time, if it was like a month or two or whatever. But they called me. They let me know that he was found guilty and that he was given X amount of years in jail. They sent me a letter and everything. And that was just on my case, for me. There was still Bianca and her situation, and I'm pretty sure he was linked to that in some way too, as well as the other counts that he had against him. So I was super proud of myself for being that voice, because I was the first case. I was the first case. The other girls were scared to talk. So, and they were in the courtroom. I was the first case, and I gave my truth, and I felt good that I did it, because it gave the courage to the other girls to speak up as well, tell their story, so we could put that motherfucker behind bars for however the fuck long, hopefully for life. I hope he got. Afterwards, you know, when I found out he was found guilty, you know, I was happy. They said that they would give me a call if he was ever up for parole or whatever, just so that I can be advised. But it still hurt that all these years, my mom still never believed me. She didn't believe me. My story, the details, the DNA, the police report, like, there's no way that someone will make up a story like this with all this detail over being late for curfew. Like, I would have taken that punishment. I would have taken that punishment of being grounded, getting my ass whooped, whatever it would have been, getting my cell phone taken away. I would have taken that punishment over what happened to me. Like, it was not that serious. I am still angry with my mother to this day because she didn't believe me and she made me do these things by myself. Angry with my father as well. I don't know how they sleep at night, knowing that something so traumatic happened to me and neither one of them were there to support me. And this is why the previous video that I posted about the young lady in Starbucks, this is why it touched me and it hurt me and it broke my heart, because I know how she feels to let someone know what's happening to her and not be believed. When someone comes to you and they let you know that something happened to them, believe them. Believe them. You have to believe them. It takes so much courage to open your mouth after something so traumatic has happened. It takes a lot of courage. So for that person to get to that point, to have that courage to speak to someone, to speak to you about a situation that happened to them, it hurts to not have someone believe you. So please, if someone comes to you with whatever, if they were kicked, punched, thrown down some stairs, getting abused at home, were sexually assaulted, raped, whatever, believe them. It scars people. I'm scarred because I was not believed. And I never in a million years, one, thought that something like that would ever happen to me. But I also never thought in a million years that if something like that did happen to me, that I wouldn't be believed by my own mother, with details, with DNA, with court, and I don't know if it's, she couldn't bring herself to say something to me. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to feel. But at some point, with all the detail, with everything and how it played out over time, she should have believed me. I want to tell myself in this video that I'm very proud of myself for being able to tell this story. It wasn't the easiest. I'm pretty sure in watching it, you can kind of tell that I'm disgusted, that I'm hurt, that I'm scarred. And I want to say also, if something has happened to you, please do not be afraid to speak up. Please say something. Do not let it sit with you and you only. Speak up. There are hotlines. There are counselors. You have friends, family members, teachers. There are people that are going to listen to you and that will believe you. So please speak up. Do not hold this back. Do not let that person or people get away with doing these things, regardless of age, regardless of gender, regardless of sexual orientation. None of that matters. If something happened to you, speak up so that those motherfuckers can get what they deserve. I thank you guys so much for watching this video. And I hope that if you have ever had anything like this happen to you, that my video gave you the courage that we all needed to tell your story, my story, our story. I hope that this helped. I really hope that this helped. And I will talk to you guys in my next video.